Okay, we're live, but we're going to let it breathe, baby, just for a moment. Just while we bring on Facebook and Instagram. We'll only take a second. Whew, what a game. What a game. So much to cover tonight. And it looks like we're good for now, or as good as we're going to get. Welcome in, everybody. It is the gut reaction episode of the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. And Zack, it was kind of angling toward us having a lament during our gut reaction tonight. The Broncos turned in quite a stinker performance in the first half, most of the third quarter, and then all of a sudden, gangbusters. They storm back, obliterate the Colts. Up, what was it, 31-13? Your gut reaction?
As you can see, I'm still exhaling from that game. It was quite a few puckers on my end. I'm sure a lot of Broncos countries and Chad. And I'll always say, winning ugly is infinitely better than losing pretty. The Broncos have their first winning record since 2016. They basically unofficially locked up a postseason berth for the first time since 2015. It's a good time to be a Broncos fan, but that was a sloppy performance, Chad, coaching-wise, quarterback-wise. You worry about PS2 and that ankle going forward. A lot to clean up, but the fact that the Broncos can finish strong and still find a way to win speaks volumes as to how far they've come.
No doubt about it. We don't want to keep the superstars waiting too long today, Mr. Producer. Let's jump straight to. I'll share my thoughts, obviously, on this game as we get through things here. But first things first, we've got Chris Hernandez going off from a different account. This must be his like gaming account or something like that. But dude, look, he's giving you the mathematics, all right? And he's helping us out here because we suck at math on this show. 31 points times 9 wins equals 279. Love you, bro. I don't know what else to say. Hats off. Seriously, your generosity this season has been on a whole other level. We can only hope that means things are going really, really good in your life, big dog. But thank you. He says, hell yeah. A winning season and another step closer to the playoffs. It was a rough game, but this team has resiliency and grit. Teams from years past would have lost this one. Let's go. Everything you said, true, dude. Thank you so much, Chris. Love you, bro.
Yeah, Chris, thank you so much, and I'm so happy to see this amount of generosity, not because of the actual amount, but because it means the Broncos won. It means it's a good day. It means it's a good time to be a Broncos fan. I agree and echo everything you're saying there. The old Broncos, 2016, 17, 18, 19 through this coming season would have lost for sure, just like they would have lost many other games this season. But you can tell the culture is different. You can tell Sean Payton has the team where he wants them. And it's just a new era in Broncos country. Even when Bo Nix, Chad, and Chris has a 3-interception performance, he still pulls out enough throws to get the team over the hump and the W. I'm just pumped up right now. I'm sure you are as well, Chris. Thank you again.
And it's really cool because dovetailing with this victory is the Chargers losing, the Broncos climbing in the seeding. D-Dub, bro. Also, top rope super chat.
Thank you, Dale.
How blessed are we? Very, very. D-Dub from Paradise jumping in, saying, what a win. Loved this game for Bo. 3 picks, nothing going right. Keeps his head, makes the plays that come. He was right. This team is dialed in. Defense, wow. Bonito said it all. Took their early punch, went back, got the adjustments from Vance, came out, executed. Broncos for life. Dale, love you so much, dude. Thank you, buddy. The generosity, and especially this time of year, you know, there's a lot of costs running around for people and families. So we appreciate you, dude. Thank you. And yeah, dude, this was a game that really showed the Broncos mettle, mettle, their constitution, what they're made of, their grit, like Chris was saying. And even when things weren't going well for Bo Nix, I mean, Zach, I'll take a bad Bo Nix game where he throws 3 touchdowns. Yeah, I got picked off 3 times. Now a career high for him, most interceptions. But he still made plays in critical situations when it required. That last dagger to Sutton, I was glad to finally see them do something well together today. But overall, the defense bouncing back. I mean, it looked ugly at first. They were converting 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, the Colts. 2 of those three of the first 4 third down conversions that the Colts had, which they were batting 1,000 through the whole first quarter, were 3rd and longs that they converted by handing it off to a running back. They were give-up plays. And then Jonathan Taylor, boom. And yet the Broncos bounced back. with gusto, just an insane game. But it shows, Zach, the heart of this team and good harbinger.
Yeah, they came out very flat in the first half on both sides of the ball, including the play calling, but they cleaned it up in the second half, and that's a sign of a good team when you can make those adjustments. We had it all in this game, Chad. We even had a Nick Bonito crotch grab a la Michael Jackson on that pick six. So you like to see them finish strong, but coming out of a bye, there's really no reason why they should allow the Colts to go down the field. But it also shows one quick thought. You just mentioned the middle. The Broncos' good fortune. Jonathan Taylor wouldn't have fumbled that ball going over the goal line in years past, but the Broncos finally catch a break, Chad.
They got lucky in so many ways. And at first they weren't really capitalizing on their good fortune, but not only that Taylor play, Zach, but all those great returns from Mims, the turnovers that early the Broncos were unable to capitalize on. And I was going, hey man, the wheel of karma rolls on, even for a football team. At some point, if you're unable to capitalize on blessings that the football gods are dropping on you, maybe they'll start dropping them on the other team. And eventually they did drop them, take advantage, I should say, the Broncos. Michaela, the Duchess, top rope super chats going around. I mean, this is a big game, guys. This is a game to celebrate because it officially ends the losing season streak, right? We haven't officially clinched the playoffs, but by virtue of today's win, 9 victories officially by mathematics gives the Broncos their first winning season since Gary Kubiak's last in 2016. So this is a big game. Allow yourself to feel the joy and the thrill of what just happened. Michaela, love you. She says, much love, fellas. Why is Bo struggling so much? And how bad is the PS2 injury? 2 really good questions, Zach. Let's start with what we know more about, which is the Bo situation.
It's any given Sunday. The Colts are still a well-coached team, and we went through the head-to-head, but we both said, Chad, don't look at this game on paper because it's going to be different when the teams are out there on the field. Bo Nix, Michaela, he's still a rookie. He's going to have these games, but it's proven not to be a theme. He usually shakes these bad games off, and I wouldn't be surprised on Thursday night he comes out more efficient. And then again, through 3 picks, the Broncos still won, though. So what does that mean? That means that when he has a good game, they should win going away. Rookie quarterbacks are going to be on this roller coaster. We were all prepared for it, but the good thing about him, he doesn't stay on that roller coaster very long, Chad.
So 2 things about this. First of all, when I was writing up, Luke's been under the weather all week, so I wrote up the Keys to Victory article for MHH, and one of my keys was about starting fast, which the Broncos did not do. And I talked a lot about how, look, this is a Colts team, for all of its flaws and the issues it may have, they're desperate. The Broncos are going to get their best shot. And you saw that early on. But eventually, the difference between these 2 teams overall in talent and just where they're at came out in the wash. And the other aspect to this, Zach, is that Bo Nix, you know what? He's going to take his lumps. But does he persevere? Does he, to use the word, I think it was Chris in that super chat, the resilience? Hey, he bounced back. He came through. And in the critical moments, he executed. But I'm also reminded, the last thing here, Zach, is some teams come out of a bye like, rest and recover. They're like, oh my goodness, let's go. Like they hit the ground running. It's some kind of a turbocharge, recharge type sitch. Some teams, this is why it's kind of a, like the Broncos under Peyton Manning twice. You get that first round bye, come out flat, losing the divisional round. Byes can cut both ways. And I can't quite tell you, Zach, what it is, what decides that, but obviously the rust was apparent. I think that's also, last thing here, a big reason why Bo Nix struggled. He needs the rhythm.
Yeah, I was saying that out loud earlier, that sometimes when you have momentum, you don't want the bye week because it halts it immediately. One quick thing about Michaela, she asked about PS2. Raise your hand if you thought it was a cheap shot after he picked off that pass. He went right after his knee, that Colts defender. But I don't know why he was back in the game either, Chad, when the Broncos were up 18 late in the 4th quarter. I saw that Albright said it was a tweaked ankle. X-rays were negative, so good news there. He might not play Thursday, but it's not looking like a long-term injury, Michaela.
Wasn't it the Chargers game that he exited with the concussion? First defensive play of the game?
It was.
And they had a heyday. And that was with Riley Moss on the field. So I'm concerned about that, but we'll live to tackle that another day. We'll talk more about PS2 tomorrow as far as looking ahead because it's the short week and everything. But Naj, brother, thank you
Thank
for
you,
the
Naj.
top rope super chat. I'm happy for everybody, but guys like Naj, I see the sacrifices and I've seen it for years, not just in being in the chat every night, throwing down supers, but like the investment in this team is real for a man like this who lives on the opposite coast, makes trips for the MHH meet and greet. In fact, I know he made 2 trips to see the Broncos this year, one after the meet and greet. And to see the success finally coming Denver's way, man, you come to mind as one of the first, Naj, of who I'm the most happy for at MHH. So he says, brothers, this is in honor of our first winning season since 2016. Thank you, Mims. Thank you, Bonito. And thank you, Jonathan Taylor. Hope PS2 is okay. Enjoy this moment, Broncos country. Yeah, brother. And that really was a turning point moment, that touchback Taylor, man. Oof. One of those things. And it's like, hey, dog, you ought to know better. You're not only a seasoned vet, but you've been a superstar in this league. You should know better. Ouch.
Yeah, I think Naj is, first of all, Naj, thank you as always. I think your last comment there is the most prescient, because this time it's December 15th. For the last 9 years, Chad, on December 15th, what were we talking about? The draft or a coaching search or a quarterback search or a GM search? None of that. You know what we're talking about now? A winning record and the Broncos' first trip to the playoffs in a decade. So enjoy this moment. I'm happy for you, Naj, every other fan in Broncos country out there. It's been a long decade, but the tide has officially turned, buddy.
With that, as we look ahead a little bit to the next matchup, it will be curious to see if the Broncos are underdogs and by what stretch going into LA. I'm sure they will be. Speaking of underdogs, though, guys, listen really fast here. Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. Join over 5 million fans who are already playing on Underdog. With their pick'em game, you could win money by making entries with your favorite players, compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower. It's real easy on 2 or more player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog.
And with their champs game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like passing yards, interceptions, touchdowns, and much more. Like, for example, will Bo Nix have higher or lower than 237.5 passing yards next week? Will Nix have higher or lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns? Every dog deserves a second chance, and with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose.
That's right. You get a little safety net there. So download the Underdog app today. Use our code MHuddle to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the Underdog app today. Use our code MHuddle to get that $1,000 up to anyway in bonus cash immediately. Every player, every touchdown. Just select higher or lower on Underdog.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
All right, back to the chat. The Lady D also.
Thank you, Deanna.
Top rope. Very generous super chat. Thank you, Deanna. You've been one of the best this year as well. She says, evening, Chad, Zach, and Scott. Super stoked we won. The Lord blessed us. Mims, his run turned the game around. Bonito, my new favorite player, bought his jersey tonight. That's cool. Nice. Go Broncos. We win. Love Bo Nix is our QB, MHH for life. Bridge the gap. Playoffs. Hashtag playoffs? Yeah, Mora. This team is trending towards the playoffs. It's pretty much curtains for the Colts. They now have a 7% chance of making the playoffs. But the NFL.com official playoff picture has not changed yet. They haven't updated it, but the Chargers currently show 8-6 in the 6th seed. The Broncos are 9-5. They're moving up to the 6th seed. I love that. And I'm with you, D. Bo Nix, guys, he's the impetus. Look, you got the defense, you got the veteran coach, all that stuff. But without Bo Nix doing his thing this year, even as a rookie, this team is not where it's at. So we got to thank our lucky stars that the football gods arrange things for Bo Nix to fall and be there at 12, because it's a matchup made in heaven. And some weird play calling today. I don't know. Sean Payton, it was a weird game he called, but thank God for Bo Nix.
I want to echo really quickly what Deanna said about Nick Bonito. They can't re-sign him until the offseason, but they should get on that ASAP. They've re-signed everybody else, and he's looking like a foundation pinnacle player, truly the successor to Von Miller, Chad, after all these years.
Yeah, and just the rarity of scoring as a rush linebacker, touchdowns in back-to-back games. I was bummed that he got robbed of the pick six thing and it ended up being a fumble return. I'm like, dude, that's a throw. That's a pass. But it was going backwards behind the line of scrimmage, so that's the rule. But David Youngkin jumping in. Thank you, bro. He says, we came out sluggish, but stormed through the mistakes and 3 interceptions, a 4-game winning streak. Exactly, and that's the mark. Resilience in the face of adversity is the mark of, one of the marks anyway, of true character for a human being. And Zach, it happens to also hold true collectively for teams.
Yeah, and the mark of a good team as well is if one side of the ball falters, another side of the ball can pick them up. So a couple weeks ago, it was the offense bailing out the defense. Today was the defense and the special teams bailing out the offense. And just imagine when you have all 3 firing simpatico, what this team could look like. I think we haven't seen the Broncos' best ball yet, Chad, and that's so exciting considering the playoffs are right around the corner.
No doubt about it. The old man just tried to call me. The mythical Mark Jensen wanting to probably glory in the game and stuff, but I'll have to hit him back later. He knows this. Come on, Dad. All right. Let me see, Mr. Producer here saying. Now he can be the only player with a pick six and a fumble return for TD, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that is a unique aspect. I think he's the 9th player in NFL history to have 10-plus sack season and also have a pick six in the same season and a fumble return for a touchdown. Only 9 players have done that ever. Whoa. Brian Woodard, what up, dude? Thank you, pal. He says, I'm so happy we won, but it feels more like like they lost. A win is a win, but we need to stop this bad play calling. Hashtag Casa Bonita. I would have concurred with you, Brian. Like, let's say this game ends up 17-13. You know, when the Broncos finally on the heels of that 60 whatever yard return of Mims and you score right there, and maybe that's the way the game ends, 17-13, I would have been like, yeah, kind of they did steal a victory from the jaws of defeat. It would have felt more like a loss, even though it was a win. But the way they turned it on in the fourth quarter, it was like, it was separation, dude. Like, you could just see the wheat from the chaff being separated, the cream rising to the top. How many parables must I throw at you, Brian, to help you feel better about this win, big dog?
And that's when you want a team to play its best, is the fourth quarter. Who really cares about the first and the second if they can put it all together in the fourth and they're not too far behind? Brian, I appreciate the support here for sure, but it doesn't feel like a loss to me. It feels like a major win, and a win the Broncos wouldn't have pulled out in years past, and doing so while playing such ugly football makes it even better. Enjoy it. Don't try to knock it.
It was, and Riptide saying, I don't like how we played. We got lucky. JT gave us the game, Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, we did get lucky, but so did the Colts early on, by the way. The Colts had some strings of fortune early. I was tweeting about that. But my message still applies. This was a great win, and it was a force multiplying win in the sense that, yeah, you got the game, but you got that losing season streak off your back, all right? And you moved up in the AFC seeding because you're capitalizing on the Chargers getting just walloped by the Bucks. So, guys, there's no negative vibes on this one. Would you have liked to have seen Bo go 303 or 4 touchdowns and have another immaculate game? Sure, but that's not the way this cookie crumbled, and the team found a way. Taylor Christensen, what up, brother? He says, hey, guys, offense looked lost out there. Has me very concerned going forward. The defense and VJ bounced back today. Bonito, defensive player of the year. Hope PS2 is okay. That's the biggest thing. Go Broncos. We talked about this last week, Zach. If there's one reason for misgivings, I'll speak for myself, for the Broncos as a viable playoff contender. They'll make the playoffs. But in terms of how far do you go, it's still that lackluster run game. And today it was no different. I mean, Bo Nix was your leading rusher with 23 yards on 8 totes as a team. And by the way, Jaleel McLaughlin exits early with a quad injury. But as a team, you rushed for 72 yards at home against one of the worst ranked defenses in the NFL. Now, Any Given Sunday. He says, glad the streak is finally over. Losing seasons, exactly, Taylor. But the whole Any Given Sunday maxim, Zach, comes into play here. The Colts on paper, horrendous defense, but Zaire Alexander and a few different guys they galvanized. They were trying to give their team a fighting chance to stay alive. And it looked like early, Zach, that Anthony Richardson and company were going to answer the bell and meet them on that same level. The Broncos were being put on their heels. If he was completing clutch, crucial throws on third down, and the Broncos didn't seem to have an answer early for his rushing prowess. But eventually, as Bonito, that whole thing, Vance Joseph tweaked it, and boom, out came, the floodgates open.
Yeah, really quickly before we get to another very generous support from Dale, going back to Riptide mentioning luck, who's gotten lucky the last couple seasons? The Chiefs. And would anyone trade in luck for a couple Super Bowl trophies? I know I would. And to anyone criticizing the game, knocking the game, it wasn't the Broncos' worst performance by any means, but that's the point here. They still won by 18. They still won by 3 possessions in the biggest game since the 2015 AFC Championship game in Denver, Chad. So we can talk about luck. And like Jason says here, the Chiefs won on luck, but the Broncos are pulling it out when it matters. And that's what we should focus on here.
Luck be a lady tonight. Definitely that. And also, fortune favors the bold. And in this sense, the Broncos were bold enough to stay bought in and continue to believe. And they wore them down. They wore the Colts down. D-Dub, again, number 2 super chat. Appreciate you, big dog. He says, glad I could make the after party. Same here, dude. I love your insights. He says, how many rookies would have hung their heads after 3 picks? True. Metal, 2 T's, is the right word, Chad. Love everything except the run game. Shake my head. Draft Genty or Caleb this offseason. Abrams drain. Play was a comfort depth-wise. I'm glad you brought him up, bro. Bonito, a stud player. Yeah, dude. Abrams drain can play. Can play, dude. 2 passes defense, both of them crucial. One in the end zone, break it up. The other one on a drive that would have been moving the chains. That's your next guy. It's not Levi Wallace. It's not Damari Mathis. It's PS2. It's Riley Moss. It's Jaquan McMillan. And then it's Chris Abrams drain.
The Broncos can certainly draft good cornerbacks, can't they? And with Cad coming on very strong, Levi Wallace should never see the field again.
Healthy
even
scratch today.
Damari Mathis held his own. I mean, you have him. Riley Moss will come back. PS2's injury hopefully is minor. They should keep Wallace either on the sideline or even go out and release him because Abrams drain is the future and he's the truth.
That's right. Levi Wallace rendered a healthy scratch. So we'll see how that shakes out with PS2 because, boy, and who knows? I'm still hopeful. All the buzz is that don't expect Riley back till the Cincy game. But, man, oh, man, I hope maybe Sean Payton's got something up his sleeve. Jody Hashburger jumping in with the super chat. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
I recognize you as a newer name on super chat, so welcome. Thank you. Stick around. Connect with Zach and I in the show on X. We spend a lot of time there when we're not writing and talking on these microphones. But he says, what a game. I guess it could be a she, he or she. They say, what a game, what a win. The defense was great. Bonito for Defensive Player of the Year. That's one of the things, too, Zach, I tweeted about on X. What do they call it now that it's X? Is it still a tweet?
It's a post.
It's just a post. I posted on X. Nah, it just doesn't. But anyway, look, Bonito was listed. He was beginning to be listed in the odds. The odds makers were including him for depoy. But after this game, you're going to see him. This is him really making a statement. You'll start seeing him being bandied about. Do you remember early in the season, Zach, right before PS2 suffered his concussion and lost all momentum? Every time he showed up on the screen, the commenters were talking about him as a Defensive Player of the Year, not just candidate, but leader in the clubhouse. And same thing when you'd watch the analysis shows. That evaporated when he got hurt for 2 games. But you're going to start seeing some of that buzz, I think, from this week moving on for Bonito because he's not only affecting the game as a sack artist and just we know how much depoy is weighted towards sacks and whatnot, but he scored twice as a non-secondary guy. Give it to him. William Shaw. Bonito should be called the proctologist for how often he saves our alimony. A win is a win. Not sure who that guy wearing Bo's uniform was. Love a gritty win when we don't have our stuff. Shows character. Broncos for life. Thank you, William. Very cool of you. Uh, got a little chuckle out of both of us too. So appreciate that. Yeah, it was just look, dude. Every quarterback's gonna have their bad days at the office, and for rookies, it can kind of come off, Zach, as a little bit more compounded, a little more intense.
Yeah, Williams right here as well. Bo will be fine. Everyone has a stinker. It happens. Yeah, he's still a human being, and even the best quarterbacks have bad games. But he still came back in the second half. They played much better, much smoother, and they won the game. About Bonito, when you were out, Chad, Scott and I were talking about PS2's Defensive Player of the Year chances. We talked about Nick Bonito as well, but we said that he needs more of those splash plays and preferably on a national stage. Well, now that the Broncos have a pretty much a postseason berth locked up, 2 weeks in a row where he's scoring defensive touchdown. He's starting to gain that momentum. Coinciding with that, TJ Watt got hurt today. I think he's the leader for Depoy. Trey Hendrickson's also in there as well. But if Nick Bonito keeps doing this, he really does have a legitimate chance of taking that hardware home.
Zebo checking in from Oz with the generous super chat. Thank you, Jack. He says, I know it was not the best Bo game, but all I know is we have a winning season and we are the 6th seed. How is our latest defensive weapon? Number 15, 2 pick sixes in 2 games in second half defense. Awesome. MHH for life. Knicks for 6. And on that note, check it out, Jack. Chiefs still number 1. Bills 2. Steelers 3 still, even though they lost. Texans 4. Ravens 5. Your Denver Broncos climb 1 to 6. The Chargers officially dropped to the 7th seed at 8-6. And then in the hunt, they still, it's pretty much a sure thing also that the Chargers are going to make the playoffs, barring something catastrophic. But you had the Colts, Dolphins losing today, but the Bengals, they kind of hung in there. Their odds are still very, very low. But yeah, that's one of the great things about tonight is you not only ended the streak of losing seasons, but you climbed the seeding. This is good.
And then you have that game on a short week against the beat-up Chargers, who got blown out today. Herbert's limping around. The Broncos would officially clinch, by the way, with the win Thursday night. So it could be a big podcast, Chad, a big gut reaction.
Indeed. We'll have to see how things shake out with PS2 because, that and the Broncos' inability to get the ground game going. Also, Jalil, what's up with him? Also, DJ Jones exited with a finger. So this win was sweet. It was precious. It did come at a cost. Let's just hope it's not too deep a cost. Jason Kopp jumping in. What's up, big dog? Thank you. He says, wow, we forgot how to play football for 3 quarters, but poured it on in the 4th. Another game we would have lost last year. Agreed. The bye may have hurt us more than it helped. There's something about this team, guys. I agree. And I just think you just never know. A lot of times I think it just has to do with individual teams and their kind of mood of the year, because think about it. The 2012 Broncos, they get that first round bye. They're shocked by Baltimore in the divisional, bounced. Next year, they get that same first round bye. This was before they changed all this stuff with relative to seeding and 7 teams and all that. But anyway, then they go the distance to the Super Bowl, get blown out. The next year, same thing, get their bye, lose in the divisional round. 2015, get a bye. And they fought hard. It was a close game against Pittsburgh in that 2015 divisional round game, but they did win. So it's just kind of what makes the difference. I don't know. And I think, Zach, that there are bona fide experts in the NFL that aren't sure either. If that was the case, you wouldn't see teams like the Broncos come out and kind of give you one of those type of performances early. But there's another lens to look at it through, Zach, and that is they still found a way to bounce back and win. How much of that do you credit to the bye? I don't know, but I'm just glad it's behind us now, and the Broncos have been back on the field. They got their game legs underneath them. Thank you, Jess. Feels like the 2011 season. Go Broncos.
Tanner Hulse, $4.99 super. Thank you, Tanner. I was stressing, can we pay Nick Bonito already? Broncos for a life state of being. Yeah, those negotiations will open up in the offseason, I take it, Chad. And I would hand him almost a blank check considering what he means to this defense. He went from almost a no-name player who was buried behind Baron Browning, who's done nothing, by the way, in Arizona. And now he's one of the best pass rushers and potential defensive player of the year. Wild to see us come up.
Yeah, that's true, dude. We thought of him as, and you've got the little extra help from Bonito, in year 3. You were talking we're focused on Browning and Cooper as the two guys, and that's just part of his story. And what's even better about it is the fact that he's this team's second-round pick from just a couple of years ago. It's just cool to see George Paton hitting on many of his draft picks, guys. We could go through that, but the Ronk checking in. Good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Gut reaction. Go Bo Broncos. Amen, bro. So good to see you tonight. Broncos hail victorious over the Colts, 31-13. Zach, the Broncos had some weird stuff going on. I mean, if you look at turnovers, so Bo Nix picked off 3 times. So the Broncos, 3 turnovers. But the Colts, let's see. I wish it would just show me the turnover stat on here, and I don't have to like count interceptions. I don't have to count fumbles. But what was the total number? Let me just go to interception fumble. So you had 1, 2, 3 turnover, three picks, 1, 2, 3 fumbles lost. So 6 total turnovers because you got to count, Zach, that Jonathan Taylor snafu as a fumble lost. Really weird game that way. Michaela Parker jumping in again.
Thank you,
Love
Michaela.
it. She says, why does Sean Payton keep putting Williams in? I'm so mad about it. Man, nobody could do. The only guy that really, I'll say Jaleel McLaughlin had some okay stuff before he got banged up. He was running with vision and intensity, but the Colts were playing tough, man. But the other guy with some intensity is Audric Estime, Zach. So I think you just got to start leaning on him. Williams is tapped, dude. He's tapped.
Yeah, he's pretty washed. I missed Tyler Bidet myself. He was looking so good in the early part of the season, and he could have been something. But Sean Payton, Michaela loves these rotating running backs. He's pretty much always done that. But he needs to stop rotating. And Javonte, it's a waste of a down when you run him. It's 2 yards and a cloud of dust. Give me Estime 100% over Javonte. Thank you again, Dale.
Dale again from the top rope with a Merry Christmas message and super saying, Merry Christmas to the Broncos faithful. God bless you and your families this holiday season.
God bless
Amen
you,
to
man.
that. Amen to that. And thank you so much, Dale. One of the best dudes I've known on this planet, and just such a crucial member of our MHH family and community, man. Thank you for the positive messages. Thank you for the appropriate messages at the appropriate time. It is the Christmas season, the holiday season. Let that spirit shine. It's really cool. Thank you, Dale.
Yeah, God bless you and yours, Dale. Thank you so much.
Give our best to the fam. Ted Wunderlich jumping in. What's up, brother? Another crazy 24 Bronco win. Played really shaky early and still win by multiple scores. This team passes each test. I love these guys. My dad breathed a huge sigh of relief too. Hashtag MHH for life. Hashtag to the playoffs. We bow. I like it. Hashtag winning record. Tell your dad we said what's up. It was cool to get to meet both of you earlier this year. So, but yeah, shaky early. You bounce back, win by multiple scores. I mean, it was a overwhelming surge, Zach.
It might have been the biggest single collective release of oxygen when Broncos country exhaled at once, Chad, going from potentially losing to an 18-point victory. But a win's a win is a win. You never apologize for any of them.
Riptide saying, hey, listen, and thank you again, bro. I'm happy we won, but you shouldn't be happy about the performance. We sucked. There were aspects that were crappy, but, you can't – I'll just say the way I look at it. I look at it in total. I don't look at it like, quarter by quarter. Perfection is impossible to achieve. But the cool thing about this, and I have a sneaking suspicion, I hope I'm right, and that is Bo Nix has now turned it over 5 times in the last 2 games. And I think that he's going to really take that to heart and try to atone for it, so to speak, try to make up for it. So it could be the type of thing, Riptide, where you look back and go, man, he went on a run. Because think about it, the way that first quarter of the season ended, 4 interceptions in the first 2 games, kind of comes alive in that Tampa game, the third game. Then you have just a weird Jets game with the weather and stuff. So you kind of got to throw that one out. And he just starts growing and bouncing back from those 2 crappy starts to his career. Maybe we'll see something similar where it's a bounce back. That's what I'm hoping for. David McElrath, the Papa Bear. What's up, bro? Mile High Magic is back. Hashtag 10 and 7. Let's go, Bo. MHH for life. Buckham ×3. Denver Broncos for life. It does feel that way. It does feel that way, Zach.
Riptide, I love you, bro. But if the Broncos suck, what does that make Indianapolis, who was winning the game and then goes on to lose by 18 points? Chad mentioned it earlier, and it's true. They had nothing, or, they were backs against the walls. They were a crazed team fighting for their season, fighting for their postseason lives. And the Broncos came out and won by 3 possessions. They didn't squeak by. It wasn't 1 point. It wasn't ticky-tack. They took hold in the second half. So I disagree personally. I don't think they sucked. It wasn't 100% A+, but it was far from a sucky performance.
I would give it a B-. That's what I'd give the overall Bronco performance, because even though the defense came on strong in the second half, dude, they sucked the whole first half, the entire first half. They allowed them to march down on the opening possession. We talked earlier about the third down conversions early in the game. It was just like, really? Jonathan Taylor was ripping off 15-yard runs on 3rd and 10. You're going, what is happening here?
He's a running back, though.
What's going on? What's that?
He's a good running back, though. I mean, people are discounting the Colts like they're the Panthers. They're still a well-coached team with a lot of talent, and the Broncos won by 18 points.
Steichen, I mean, I'm a fan of Steichen, and even though that defense statistically was in the doldrums, Gus Bradley knows what he's doing, and he preaches and instills intensity, and you saw that early on. That's to me, the big explanation here was a team fighting for its life, and it took the Broncos a little longer than I would have liked to see them match and then eclipse that intensity. So hopefully, again, it's a young team, guys. Hopefully they learn from that, and they go, okay, yeah, we got, here's what we don't do. Here's how we react to this situation next time. Let's hope. Joshua Shadow, thank you, bro. It's great to see you. He says, I hope PS2 is good. Broncos win even when ugly. Last year's team would have gotten mollywopped tonight. They played so bad for over 3 quarters. The PS2 thing, I don't know, man. Like some coaching staffs in years past, Zach, they would roll players out and you'd go, ooh, I don't think they're ready. Like you're going, Sean Payton and his staff, and look at the Broncos since Payton arrived. There's a reason for what I'm about to say. They went from being one of the worst and most injured teams to one of the least. But they have an abundance of caution when it comes to putting an injured player back out on the field. They take their time. They do not rush it. It will be interesting, therefore, Zach, to see how that applies in this Surtain situation. I wish it wasn't a short week. That's the biggest thing. I wish it wasn't a short week. If I had to bet money on it right now, I would guess he probably doesn't play based on what we've seen from Broncos, the way they manage these situations under Sean Payton.
Well, a couple things too is that if it's better if it's just a bone bruise in the ankle as opposed to any ligament damage like Riley Moss is dealing with. That's a multi-game absence. PS2 could just be 1. The other thing here is if you have to be without Surtain for 1 game, who does the Chargers really have except for McConkey, Chad? They're a run-first team, so you can get by without him and roll him back out for Cincy with 2 good receivers that they be playing.
It just will take one of those collective ace performances. You can't give a B-. You got to be A+ because Justin Herbert is a badass. So even if you stop the run, he finds ways. He's just very good at what he does, and Jim Harbaugh is an excellent coach. The Lady D again off the top rope. Wow. Thank you, Deanna. Love you. She says, just saying, we won. We are the 6th seed, and the Chargers dropped to the 7th seed. Awesome. Awesome. Yes, it is. And the fact that the Chargers, the win also comes, or the moving up of the seeding comes at the expense of the Chargers is all the sweeter. Because, like, there was a part of me that was like, I don't want to see Harbaugh do better than Peyton in his first year. Like, he's already done better, probably, that by the time the season ends, he'll end up with a better record than Peyton did his first year in Denver. But this year in particular, I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. And it's looking like the Broncos have a chance to make sure, Zach, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, thank you, Deanna. Someone said that the Chargers torched the Broncos last time they played. Well, that when PS2 got hurt, like you mentioned, Chad, the defense was like shell-shocked. We talked about that on the gut reaction. Like they didn't know what hit them, and they didn't have any time to adjust. So if PS2 is ruled out before the game, then they can go into it with that mindset. Someone also said they have Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson. Johnson can't catch. Josh Palmer is okay. You put Cat on him with some safety help over the top. Justin Herbert's also dealing with an injury, Chad. He aggravated it today. He has an ankle. This is a very winnable game for Denver. Call me a homer.
No, dude, I think you're 100% right. The Broncos beat down the Bucs. it's really weird how the NFL works because they beat down the Bucks. They get slobber knocked by the Chargers. I mean, that final score made the game look much closer, if you can recall, than it actually was. It took some fourth quarter garbage time production to make that score look the way it did. And then the team that the Broncos just beat down in Tampa comes and lays it to the Chargers. Like, it's one of the reasons why the NFL is just so sweet. That parity, baby, reigns supreme. George, good to see you, bro. What a great win, even if we didn't play very good. Hope Surtan's able to come back. This is a game in the last couple of years we would have lost. Denver Broncos for life, MHH for life. Hit the thumbs up. Amen, dude. Guys, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, hit that little thumbs up. It helps us out tremendously. You have no idea. But Zach, that's been one of the common themes we're hearing from the community tonight, is that this team would not have won. Last year's team would have lost a lot of these kind of games, you know? How true is that? And then we'll grab Howie.
We saw it. It's not even just in theory, Chad. It was actuality for so many years. They wouldn't have even been in this position. They wouldn't have been competitive on December 15th. The season would have been over by Halloween. So the fact that they played bad in a must-win game for both teams, and they won by 18 points. I'll reiterate that every time. 18 points. Wasn't one. They didn't lose by one. It wasn't a pretty loss. It was an ugly win, but it was still by 3 possessions. It could have been a lot worse, Chad.
Howie, we will get to you. The Valkyrie jumping in. Cristobal here. What's up, bro? Cad will keep Wallace out the rest of the season. Please. Yeah, unless there are additional injuries. And that might have, Zach, been one of the factors why they kept Surtain in there tonight, was they were a little short on corners because they chose to sit Wallace. He was a healthy scratch. So you would have been taking a chance out there with Damari Mathis. And, you know, hindsight's 20/20, but I don't know. I don't want to castigate him too bad for keeping him out there, because I don't know. You just can't foresee those type of things, and they were short on corners. But Howie says Nix looked like a rookie this week. He made up for it when it mattered, though. This defense, so true.
And the Broncos aren't just leaning on Bo Nix solely. They have a defense that can back them up. They have a special teams that can back them up. And that's, again, I said it earlier, a sign of a good team. When one side of the ball falters, you have 2 others to pick you back up.
Dave from Georgia, it's been a minute, big dog. Still rocking his Buckham t-shirt like a boss. Great to see one of our longtime OG Super Chat superstars. He says, I love winning, even if it's ugly. Hashtag Broncos country.
Too.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. And today was one of those no matter what situations, Zach. Like, oh, you allow Anthony Richardson to kind of go off in the first quarter, we're going to win, no matter what. You know, you fail to capitalize on multiple gifts from the football gods early. Bo Nix throws 3 picks. We're going to win, no matter what. And that's what you saw.
You want to call the Broncos an ugly or sucky performance? They won by 18 points. Okay, I'll live with that, Chad, if it means they keep stacking W's.
This is an interesting name because it's similar to our friend Todd Ostendorf, spelled with an O, from YouTube. Neil, is it Ostendorf or is it Osendorf? Checking in on Facebook. Thank you, pal, with some stars. Good Denver defense. Thank you, Jonathan Taylor. All the momentum changed after that. Hope PS2 will be fine. Thank you, MHH team. Yeah, it changed, but not right away. Remember, the Broncos went 3 and out after that. Right. And then flipped the field position, kicked it back, and then that's when things started changing. The defense had to kind of take control of the game. And by that, I mean taking the ball away. Matt Jennings, thank you, big dog. Going off on the stars. You the man. Thank you, pal. Fox family breaks. And then I'm serving it to you, Zach. Crazy game. Bonito is so good. I hope PS2 is okay. We need a run game. So for what it's worth, real fast, Nick Bonito finishes the game. Where is he? There he is. 3 tackles, a half sack, that fumble returned for a touchdown, Zach.
I echo everything you're saying. Thank you, Fox family breaks. Bonito is a defensive player of the year. Whether the national media wants to admit it or not, he's at least a contender for it. He might not win, but he's put himself in that conversation. Scott made a good point in the side chat that they are PS2 and Bonito could start cannibalizing each other's votes. But just the fact that the Broncos have 2 contenders for that award on the same defense is amazing. And I echo what you said there. Prayers up for PS2.
I mean, how crazy is it to see a quarterback throw Zach for 130 yards, completing 20 passes, and 3 of them were touchdowns? So that's part of what I think shows you that Bo Nix is different. Like, with how bad he was struggling. And by the way, the whole passing game was just off.
Yeah.
Everybody was dropping passes. Franklin dropped a pass. Sutton was dropping passes. Even Vele, I wouldn't call it a drop, but that 1 3rd down on the left boundary where Nix put it low and gave him a chance, but it was still, I wouldn't call that a drop. That's the type of catch, though, you've seen Vele make in critical stitches time after time, but it just wasn't coming through today. And yet, when the chips were down and the Broncos were in prime position to capitalize, that's when Bo Nix came through, gave you the touchdown to Adkins, gave you the touchdown. What was the first one? I'm trying to remember the first one. Oh, Troutman. And then that dagger at the end, Sutton. That's a huge, in my opinion, harbinger of, and it's just a sign, a signal of what you got in Bo Nix. If that's his worst, if his worst game of the season is a 3-touchdown game and you won, I'll take it.
I also think, Chad, the winning streak and the Broncos' success has kind of covered up what we talked about earlier in the season when the Broncos weren't winning, is that Bo Nix needs more weapons. It can't be just Courtland Sutton. He has no running game. He has kind of nondescript tight ends. He needs a lot more help around him. Not to say, exonerate him for the interceptions. Those weren't his fault. But when you're targeting Lil Jordan Humphrey on one of those picks, then you could do a lot better. So I still think the cupboard is pretty bare around him.
Broncos went 6 of 17 on 3rd down. So 35%, which is below their average. The Colts, though, after a really strong start, they literally all 4 of their 3rd down conversions happened on their first 4 3rd down tries. So they went 4 for 4, Zach, and then went 0 for 11 the rest of the game. Owie. Ouch. Fox family, love you, big dog. Thank you. David Wilder, another longtime OG superstar, saying, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Scott. I'm impressed with what Mims is doing on special teams. # Bo Leave, # Denver Broncos for life. What a great team win. Yeah, Mims went from kind of a afterthought, so first half of the season to this second half, Zach. He has been one of the tips of the spear, whether it's what he's doing on offense, his returning. I mean, his returning has been mostly consistent all year, but this game, he went off. I just wish he could have broke one of them. I just wish he could have broke one, but yeah, that 60-yard one at the punt return at the end, boy, oh boy, that was legit. But he finishes, Zach, with 3 punt returns, 97 yards. That's a 32.3 average. All right. And then every kickoff was a touchback for the Broncos.
I got to be impressed, David. I got to be honest, excuse me. I'm impressed every time Marvin Mims has the ball in his hands. And I appreciate Sean Payton making a concerted effort with the bubble screens and the quick passes, just let Marvin Mims do what he does best. But he gives the Broncos something they don't have except for maybe Troy Franklin. And you can tell he's growing and ascending, Chad. It's been fun to watch.
It really has. And it's also cool to see, like, okay, trust Sean Payton, trust George Payton. Like, they knew what they were doing when they drafted this guy. And the broadcast talked a little bit about it. Instead of Marvin Mims' mindset, talking to him during the pre-production, they're like, instead of taking it as it comes or whatever, his learning curve or his beginning to the NFL, Coach Payton finally told him this year, nah, dude, you just got to get out there and take control and make it happen. And that mindset shift has helped him basically break through that. Ralph, what's up, bro, on Facebook saying, we are going to the playoffs. Love you guys. Love you too. Defense travels, and if Bo can take care of the ball, we can beat anyone. # Broncos for life. I agree. Fat Sertan, what's up, dude? Don't worry, guys. I'll be back for LA. Best defense in the league. Love you guys. Glad to hear that, Fatty. Thanks, pal.
I got a spare ankle in case I need it, Pat. We got Grover 999, another ugly W, but playoff teams find a way to win. That's right. Defense balled out in the second half, and Mims' return was clutch, as was Taylor's dropped tutty run. Let's roll into the playoffs with a win Thursday. It's a good point. I don't want the Broncos, Chad, to back in by another team, the virtue other team losing. I want the Broncos to cement it on a national stage, prime time on Thursday night against a really good, also playoff team that they belong in the postseason, and I think they'll do just that, Grover.
Man, fortune favors the bold. Fortune also favors the prepared. And the Broncos were able to, when Lady Luck smiled on them in the second half, baby, they capitalized. So Flat Earth Trini, what up, dude? Had me worried with the shaky start, but we pulled it out. Worried about Pat being injured. How do we fare going forward without his presence? Go Broncos. MHH rocks. Thank you, pal. It's going to be tough because now you're going to be down both your top corners if he is indeed unable to go on a short week turnaround. He's still young, but this is there. I was just talking earlier, Zach, about the abundance of caution the Peyton medical staff seems to have, but we're now in new territory. This is uncharted waters we have not yet seen them in that these are now basically playoff games. And do you push the envelope a little bit more with your injured players, depending on where they're at with their injuries? Do you push the envelope a little bit more, knowing you're going up against a passer like Herbert, coached by a guy like Harbaugh? You saw what happened when these two teams met earlier this year. Do you try and maybe push the envelope? And one of your other veterans, one of your remaining healthy veteran corners, is coming off one of the worst individual cornerback performances, perhaps you could maybe argue team history, but at least of the last 10 years.
Now, there's two ways of looking at it, like always, and a lot of people are taking a glass half empty approach considering how the Broncos played. But imagine if they would have lost today and had a 50% chance of making the playoffs and Surtain might have been out. It's good that they wrapped it up, that it's good that it looks like it's not a long-term injury. How do they fare going forward? By throwing more Chris Abrams-Drain out there. And that's why I'm saying, like, you lock down Ladd McConkey for the Chargers. They don't really have a passing game to speak of. They have no tight ends. Quentin Johnson and Palmer are mid guys. It's their running game they get by on, and also their quarterback is hobbled right now. So I'm not too worried. If the Broncos would have lost and they played Cincinnati, for example, next week with two great receivers, that would have me concerned. They can get by for sure.
Clay Wise, good to see you, pal. High anxiety for 3 quarters. Total domination. Pardon me. In the end, this team finds a way to win. Hoping Surtain is okay. Going to need him and Moss back for Thursday. MHH, Denver Broncos for life. I think there's not a very good chance that you're going to have both of them back for Thursday. All of the rumors from the insiders close to the team anyway, Zach, is that circle Cincy for Moss's return. So, and like I said earlier, I'm still going to hold out hope, Clay, that Sean Payton's got a little something up his sleeve and maybe we get to see Moss back this week, but I'm not expecting it. And I can't expect, based on what we've seen from the Broncos and how they manage injured players, I'm not going to expect to see Surtain. So what does that mean? Your Chris Abrams-Drain, your Jaquan McMillian, your Damari Mathis, and Levi's your fourth guy. You might need to go sign somebody. And that's a bad place to be in such a critical game. I mean, this is not only for your playoff seeding, but like, division supremacy. Look, KC, they've got the division, but like, this is such a crucial game. Do you want to be relying on a workout guy you signed, on Tuesday? I mean, we saw how communication issues can kill in that Cleveland game. So Diamond Rattler, what up, big dog? Had me worried there for a second. Boom. Let's go. Thank you, special teams and defense. The single is dope, Chad. Thank you, bro. I'll give everybody a taste. The new Bridge the Gap single. We'll save that for the very, very end of the show. If you're curious, stick around till the end. I'll give you a little highlight and you can go watch the video. Brandon Williams, win feels great, but we have to get the run game working and hope that PS2 isn't out more than a week. Amen, amen, dude. Pure Surf Clips. That's a newer one. Welcome. Appreciate you. Way to fight back, Denver defense. And thank you, Tampa. Get the ball to Mims. Let's give the Chargers back-to-back losses, please. Nate Dizzle, amen to that, bro. Thank you. Nate Dizzle, I'm worried about our run game. We won't last long in the playoffs running like that. And what's up with Estime sitting in the first half? I still think perhaps, Zach, Sean Payton talked earlier this week, it's hard to feed 3 guys. So then don't try to feed 3 guys. Pick the guys that have momentum and roll them out there. They all trust Zach. It makes them feel much better. Javonte Williams, football IQ and veteran presence and wherewithal. But unfortunately, he is just not getting it done as a guy that touches the ball, period, end of story. So you have to start looking elsewhere. And you're already, unfortunately, starting to get thin at running back too. So it's time to just say, hey, you know what? We're going to put in our rookie workhorse who's got very little tread off the tires, plenty of tread on the tires. He's still very fresh. I mean, definitely under 50 carries this season. Let's let him be our battering ram down the stretch.
Yeah, we were asked on in the lead up to the game who's going to be the starting running back, and I said it's impossible to predict. But if we had to guess, we'd say McLaughlin, because it seemed like Sean Payton was making more of an effort to get him the ball and make him the guy. But there's never the guy in a Sean Payton backfield. But the collection of what they have to work with, Chad, if it's a committee, but the committee members aren't that great. They might have to pick up someone off the street. Maybe Blake Watson gets another chance. I don't know, but it's not cutting it right now with Javonte, and then you add on to that McLaughlin hurt. What do they do?
True. Patriot text, wow, I was so sure we had blown this game. Nix was not good today. Special teams and defense brought the mile-high magic. This feels different. I was ready to assume the same old Broncos position, but Mims struck and Bonito. Absolutely. And late in the game, when it mattered most, so did Bo Nix. Bo Nix, again, I'll say it. If the worst game from Bo Nix is 3 touchdowns, I'm taking it, you know. He also goes on to say, thank you, with second super chat from Tex. Peyton's play calling today was not good enough. I'll agree. Got to be better in the playoffs. Bo needs to be better. Can't go backwards now. Bo must bounce back Thursday. It's huge. MHH for life. Yeah, and not only was it, Zach, you were tweeting about this during the game, just kind of questionable play calling from Peyton. But once again, I'll emphasize, Bo Nix was off. So were all of his receivers. Like, they were just disjointed. They were just out of flow state. And hopefully this game, Zach, kind of shocks them, rubber bands them back into shape.
Yeah, the play calling I've noticed when I've complained about it in recent weeks, it's in the first half. The Broncos are a second half team, Chad. Let's call a spade here. They wake up in the second half, the third and fourth quarter, whether they're losing or whether they're winning, and they just turn it on to another level. So that's a good thing. You want your team playing its best ball in the fourth quarter. We just have to hope they don't dig too far of a hole in the first and second quarter.
True. Jelani James jumping in. Thank you. Good to see you. Welcome. Bo's got to clean it up with the turnovers, but man, we got some playmakers on offense and defense. Bonito has to be the surprise of the year. On defense, he is.
Yeah.
I think you got to give that to Bo overall, but they're right there, like tips of the spear for this team in terms of explaining how this team, Zach, that everyone was saying was going to be a 3-4 win team, is got 9 wins with 3 games left to go. These are 2 of the guys that deserve a lot of the credit.
I don't really see the playmakers on offense, though. I railed
Not
on
today.
that. No, overall, though, Chad, I mean, Vele's a nice rookie receiver, but they don't really have anyone elite outside of Cortland Sutton. Their best weapons are the offensive linemen who they're keeping together, but they need another running back for Bo. They can use a dynamic tight end for Bo, a second receiver for Bo. That's what I'm saying, Jelani. The cupboard around him is still pretty bare.
I think it's a sum of its parts type of situation, and Bo Nix has raised these players, skill position players level around him. So it goes, it adds up that if he has an off day, it's going to trickle down to everybody, right? Because they're all pretty dependent as receivers on the quarterback anyway, but especially this collection. And hey, Cortland Sutton was 154 yards away going into this game from his second 1,000-yard season, and he only shaved off 32. So I still think he'll end up crossing 1,000 this year, which I'll be really stoked for him. Patriot Tex, again, the Chargers are starting to charger. We need to win Thursday. Let's Bo. We'll see. There is a new sheriff in town named Jim Harbaugh, so we'll see. Completely lucid. My only concern is Nix. He needs to bounce back. Yeah, and especially it'd be one thing if it wasn't coming off a game, Zach, where he had 2 picks. So now you've got 5 picks in 2 games. It is cause for concern. I'm not going to say that it isn't. Nate Dizzle, we were losing until my girl got here. I told her she's my lucky charm. So thank Alexis, everyone. Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you, Alexis.
We're not superstitious around these parts, but we are a little stitious. So amen. Thank you, Alexis. Fernie, what up? Curious if Bidet could help the run game. Yes. Bo needs a dog back there. Our defense was bipolar today, but the good side appeared late. Let's get healthy, even if PS2 needs a game to rest. Let's go. Yeah, I just don't think Bidet is on the menu to return. I haven't heard any discussion from the team about him being a possibility to return. He did suffer kind of a scary injury, Zach.
I still want to know what exactly that injury was. It was labeled a back, and I know he was stretchered off. It was the Bucks game I think he got hurt in, but we don't really know any details beyond that. It's been months since then, and he was giving the Broncos a little wiggle in the backfield. That's what I want more of. They just don't have it with Javonte and to an extent Estime.
Ralph again, the Colts were running to the outside most of the first half, and VJ fixed it. I see Sean in his ear. Once we took care of the run, we pinned our ears back, kicked some arse. That's right, Ralph. Good observations, my friend. Well said. And, they've done a good job, both of them being in-game adjusters. Sometimes you're screaming to the heavens that they would adjust sooner than they do. But better late than never. And most of the time this season, Zach, it's been in time. So, Phil, Tucson Phil, love you, bro. Good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. A Bronco party I will watch later. Hashtag Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life. Thank you, pal. Claude Riley, what's good, big dog? Haven't seen you for a minute. How you been? Big time stars saying, so nice to finally see a team that can make stuff happen when the offense struggles. Bonito is a savage. I hope PS2 is good to go Thursday. Go Broncos. Well said, big dog. This is a team that it's balanced, dude. That's why they're where they're at. They are, if one face struggles, the other one can pick it up. And if both are struggling, Will Lutz in Kansas City can give you how many field goals was that? Or not Kansas City. What game was that, Zach, where he's like 5 field goals? I'm losing count of it. But either way, it's a balanced team, and I love that. Riptide, Cortland drops too many balls. He ain't elite. I would agree he's not elite. He's not elite. And a lot more drops this year than I can remember, but maybe that's a recency bias thing from Sutton. That is. Riptide, thanks, fellas. Love you too, Zach. Just a passionate fan who wants perfection, even if it's unlikely. No, dude, we love it. We love the energy. We love the high standards. And I would say that the Broncos, Zach, mostly this season have not only met, but exceeded them. And even today in an uneven performance, they emerged victorious by a mile. Yeah, dude. We got a few messages for you guys, then we got a dip.
Sure, I cannot believe it's been over an hour, but you guys have made it so amazing as always. If you're not doing so, please drop us a follow at the MHH Pod on X. You can also follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. You can follow Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football pre-save 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important, you subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
That's right, guys. So important. Ralph jumping in late saying, can you guys imagine the stars and super chats the week before we go to the Super Bowl? Hey, from your lips to the football god's ears, my friend. Now, listen, guys, I need your help. I'm going to show you about 30, 40 seconds of the new Bridge the Gap music video, and I'm going to drop the link right here in the chat. We're done with this stream, and I need you guys to go watch the video, and drop a comment. Very helpful to bridge the gap, but check it out real quick. Then we're going to give our shout outs. Then we're out of here. In the Throes, Bridge the Gap new single. This is where I was last February when I was basically gone for almost a month. Check it out.
That creature lurks within my bones, and I feel it rising fast. It's the dark night of the soul. I'm the train that jumped the track. I can't negotiate or plead with the lizard being deep inside.
Go check it out, guys. I dropped a link in the chat if you like rock music. And even if you don't like music or you're into rap like my boy here, Zack Kelberman, or country music or whatever, go drop a like. So helpful. And drop a comment. Very helpful. Shouts to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, helping us keep the lights on, going off. Starting with, I'm just going top to bottom. David Youngkin, Brian Woodard, Riptide, Taylor Christensen, Jody Hashberger, William Shaw, Zebo, that's Jack down in Oz, Jason Kopp, Jess, good to see you, Tanner Hulse, The Ronk, Naj, Ted, the Duchess, Michaela Parker, I said Riptide, David McElrath, Joshua Shadow, the Valkyrie, George Fox, Dave from Georgia, welcome back to the fam, brother. Neil on Facebook, Fox Family Breaks, Howie Frickin' Day, Matt Jennings. I don't know that we grabbed Matt. So Matt, thank you, pal. The Lady D. Let's see, David Wilder, Ralph Bracegirdle, D Dub 96734, Dale. Thank you, pal. Fat Sertan, Grover, Flat Earth Trini, Clay Wise, Diamond Rattler, Brandon Williams. There's a long list tonight. I love it. Pure Surf Clips, Nate Dizzle, Patriot Tex, Jelani James. Let me see here. Completely Lucid, Fernie. I think I already said Nate Dizzle. Oh, and Chris, dude. Last but not least, Chris, bro. Going off. Love you, bro. Phil McLaughlin, Claude Riley. And I think that covers everybody. The Ronk, Michael Ronquillo. Thank you, everybody. Love you. Zach and I, we're back tomorrow. Same time, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern for the aftermath. We got some Broncos for breakfast on the bright, Scott. No Broncos for breakfast tomorrow. What about Wednesday? Wednesday. Okay, so Zach and I will see you tomorrow night.
First winning season since 2016. First postseason berth potentially on the way since 2015. Enjoy this one, Broncos country. We will see you tomorrow for the aftermath. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.